Good evening, all. Today we continue with our chapter life processes, and in this session, the chap video number 4 for life process, we try to understand the human respiratory system. See, first of all, the first thing that is important is the diagram of the human respiratory system, labeling all the parts. So, first of all, what I recommend the students is you want to draw the diagram or learn the diagram of human respiratory system, do refer to Lakshmi Singh Manjeet Kaur, and they have fantastic diagrams. So let us see, what does a human respiratory system consist of. There is a nasal passage, there is a mouth cavity, there is a pharynx, there is a larynx, there is a trachea. We have rings of cartilage. We will understand what is its importance. We have respiratory bronchioles, we have alveoli, we have lung, we have ribs, we have diaphragm, bronchioles, alveolar sac, and bronchi. So these are the parts. So too many parts are there in the human respiratory system. So let's start. It involves lungs and air passage. So air passage starts from nostrils, through which air is taken into the body. Air passage is lined with fine hairs and mucus to filter the air. Conduction of air through the passage is as follows, like the air will enter the nostrils, then the nasal passage, then the pharynx, then the larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, and lungs. See, nostrils is in the nose, nostrils, the nasal passage, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi and bronchioles is these, and the lungs. Okay, pretty much. So what is the function of these rings of cartilage? What does it help us with, or what is the purpose of it? Rings of cartilage is present in the throat and the trachea. And what does it do? It prevents collapsing of the air passage. The function of this is that it is preventing the collapsing of the air passage. So it is preventing, I would say that it is preventing the collapsing of the air passage. That is the function of the trachea. Now let's move ahead. Within the lungs, we have the passage divides into smaller tubes, bronchi and bronchioles. Bronchioles terminate in balloon-like structure called alveoli. Okay. Gas exchange occurs in the surface of the alveoli, and alveolar walls contain a network of the blood vessels. Now let us move ahead. So I hope this much is clear. Let us move ahead and try to understand the next part. When we breathe in, what happens when we breathe in? So you have to visualize it. When we breathe in, our ribs are lifted and the diaphragm gets flattened. As a result, the chest cavity becomes larger and air enters the lungs alveoli. The blood, what does the blood do? The blood brings the CO2 from the rest of the body to release into the alveoli. Oxygen in the alveoli is taken up by blood in the alveolar blood vessels and is transported to all body parts. Okay. So this is what is happening in the human respiratory system. Okay. Let's move ahead and see what is happening in the breathing cycle. During the breathing cycle, the lungs always contain a residual volume of air. What is the meaning of residual? There will always be some amount of air present in the lungs. Okay. Residual volume of air, so that there is sufficient time to absorb oxygen and release CO2. In large size animals like the human beings, diffusion pressure is not sufficient to deliver O2 to all body parts. So respiratory pigments take up oxygen from the lungs and carry it to the tissues. In human, the respiratory pigment is hemoglobin on red blood corpuscles. It has high affinity for O2. CO2 is more soluble in water than oxygen and hence is mostly transported in the dissolved form in our blood. So I hope till here everything is clear. It's pretty much straightforward. What does it say? That during the breathing cycle, lungs always contain residual volume of air. In large size animals, so diffusion pressure is not sufficient to deliver O2 to all body parts. So respiratory pigments take up oxygen from lungs and carry it to tissues. In human, the respiratory pigment is hemoglobin on red blood corpuscles. It has high affinity for O2, and CO2 is more soluble in water than oxygen, and hence is mostly transported in dissolved form in our blood. O2 is binding, see, oxygen is binding to hemoglobin. This is the RBC, right? Red blood cell. O2 from lung enters, oxygen molecule, hemoglobin molecule. O2 binds to hemoglobin, and O2 releases to tissue. Okay. Now let's move ahead and understand it in more depth, the human respiratory system. If the alveolar surface were spread out, these are the alveolar surface, they've been spread out, it would cover about 80 meters square. Surface area of human body is 1.9 meters square. So you can imagine how much this has an area, and it has been kept like a balloon shaped. Okay. If diffusion were to move oxygen in our body, it would take 3 years for an oxygen molecule to get to toes from our lungs. So hemoglobin helps in faster gas transport. So this is the reason why diffusion is not sufficient for multicellular organisms like human beings, because if we had to rely on diffusion alone, it would take us 3 years for the oxygen molecule to get to toes from our lungs. So hemoglobin is a faster gas transport mechanism. Now let us see. Smoking is dangerous to our health. Tobacco or tobacco products affects lungs, liver and heart. Smokeless tobacco also causes heart attacks, strokes, pulmonary diseases and cancers. What is oral cancer? Oral cancer is highly reported in India due to tobacco chewing in the form of gutka. Smoking destroys cilia on the upper respiratory tract. As a result, germs, dust, smoke, etc. enter the lungs and cause infection, cough and lung cancer, which is a common cause of death. So smoking is definitely injurious to health and it should be avoided. Now let's see and let's get going to the part 2 of this chapter. Let's bring in the slideshow and let's get ahead with the more information, the part 2 of this chapter in our video series number 4. This series is another one of the most important topic is discussed, that is the transportation in both plants and human beings. Transportation is the process of movement of water and other molecules to the concerned parts of the organism. Like we see the example of a tree. H2O is getting into the tree, the water. Minerals are getting into it. Okay, CO2 input, oxygen output, sugar. Okay, we have oxygen getting inside, CO2 released. So human circulate, this is for the plants. When it comes to the human being, how is the body designed for a human being? The human circulatory system includes 3 different things. First is the blood. Blood is in our body completely. We have a heart. Heart is like the pump of the human body. The heart pumps the blood in our entire body, and then we have the blood vessels. So blood, heart and blood vessel constitutes the human circulatory system in the human body. Now let's see what is the blood. Blood is a fluid connective tissue. It consists of a fluid medium called plasma, in which blood cells RBC, WBC and platelets are suspended. Plasma transports food like oxygen, CO2 and nitrogenous wastes in dissolved form. Oxygen is mainly transported by hemoglobin, as we have already discussed. Okay, so this is the components of the RBC. Erythrocyte, neutrophil, eosinophil, basophil, monocyte, lymphocyte and platelets. We'll try to understand everything in detail. Platelets is something that is important. Platelets is used for blood clotting. Okay, let's move ahead. RBC is the red blood cell. WBC is present in our human body. The function of WBC is to protect the human body from various diseases. Okay, let's go ahead. Now let's see what is blood. Normal level of hemoglobin in human beings. In men, it should be between 14 to 17 gram per 100 ml. In women, it should be 12 to 15 gram per 100 ml. Children, it should be 11 to 16 gram per 100 ml. Normal level of hemoglobin in animals like buffalo or cow is 10.4 to 16.4 gram per 100 ml. Hemoglobin content in calves is higher than male and female animals. Adult men do more work than women and children, so they need more oxygen to get energy. As an adult men, we need more hemoglobin in our body. Since hemoglobin is carrying oxygen to different parts of our body, we require more hemoglobin in the human body, since an adult man is doing more work than a woman and children. That's why adult men have more hemoglobin. Hemoglobin Hemoglobin level in human is comparatively more than that of animals like cattle, because human body needs more oxygen to do various biological works. Let's move ahead. Our pump, the heart. The heart is our pump. It works as a pump. Just like the pump is used for pumping water, heart is pumping blood to all the parts of our body. This is how a heart looks like. There is a aorta, there is a right ventricle, there is a septum. Septum divides the ventricles. There is a left ventricle, there is right ventricle, there is vena cava from lower body, right atrium, vena cava from upper body, aorta. We have the pulmonary arteries, we have pulmonary veins and the left and the left atrium. So what does the heart do? Heart pumps the blood all over the body. It is a muscular organ which is as big as our fist. Okay, it has 4 chambers, 2 upper right and left. So 2 upper. What are the upper ones? Right and left atria. Left atrium, right atrium. 2 lower, right and left ventricles. Right chambers, these are the right chambers. They carry CO2 rich blood. CO2 rich blood is called deoxygenated blood. Left chambers carry O2 rich blood, oxygenated blood. Deoxygenated blood reaches the lungs to remove CO2. Oxygenated blood from the lungs is brought back to the heart and then pumped to the rest of the body. So this last line is important. This explains the function of the heart. Deoxygenated blood reaches the lungs to remove CO2. Oxygenated blood from the lungs is brought back to the heart and then pumped to the rest of the body. Let's move ahead. Oxygenated blood from the lungs. Left atrium. This is the flow. Oxygenated blood from the lungs. Left atrium relaxes. Okay. Oxygenated blood come from the lungs. So left atrium relaxes. Blood enters the left atrium. Left atrium contracts and left ventricle relaxes. Blood enters left ventricle. Left ventricle contracts, blood is pumped out of the body. Pumped to the body, out to the body. Deoxygenated blood, what happens from the body? Right atrium relaxes. Blood enters right atrium. Right atrium contracts and right ventricle dilates. Blood transfers to right ventricle. Right ventricle contracts. So blood is pumped into lungs for oxygenation. So this is just the methodology, or this is just the flow of the blood, the flow in which it is going. Since ventricles have to pump blood, see, ventricles have to pump the blood into various organs, they have thicker muscular walls than that of atria. Heart has valves to prevent the backflow of blood when the atria or ventricle contracts. So beautifully our heart is designed. It also has valves to prevent the backflow of blood, so that the blood just keeps going ahead and it is pumped or transported to the entire part of the human body. Okay. Now, what do we have next is again another diagram where we have the lung capillaries. We have pulmonary vein from lungs entering the heart in the aorta, and aorta is pumping it to the body, then again to the artery, okay, and the veins, and from body again it is going to vena cava, left chamber of the heart, pulmonary to lungs, artery to lungs, lung capillaries. Again, oxygen is getting mixed with the blood here. Okay, blue is the carbon dioxide, red is the oxygen. Deoxygenated blood is in blue, oxygenated blood is in red. So this is how we have to understand the flow of the blood that is going through in the body, oxygenated and deoxygenated. We'll study more about this in detail in the next video. Thank you.